Hi,
Hi,
welcome to this week's episode. My name is Daniel,
my name is Mike.
and we're here to talk about how to set up your playgroup.
Yeah,
Now, when we talk about playgroup, we talk about how to include people into your gaming session, how to grow people in your gaming group. Um, now, I have people ask me some questions in regards to what should I introduce? How should I? A better question is how do I introduce people to different type of games?
yeah,
Right. So, the thing I would suggest is that you want to find out who are you introducing the game to.
yeah.
Okay. Has this person have any exposure to any games at all? Maybe you have people where they've never touched the game before.
True.
True. They don't. Maybe when they were younger, they played your very popular games such as Monopoly,
Oh, Pogs.
Uno, or these things. Maybe they've been to the arcade for a little bit, or some people who are playing games already, but wanting to experiment with other type of games.
True. Yeah.
So once you establish the different personality, I would say, like the different type of gamers or the different type of people you're trying to include in your group, um, then you can start picking out some games for people to start being comfortable around another, right? Because I think it's still quite awkward.
True.
I think grouping people. I mean, you yourself meeting other people, it's kind of awkward already.
Yeah, it's like you
Right.
go in there, it's like, okay, what should I say? What's the first thing you have to say? Like, you don't know, besides hi, what else is there? It's like,
Yeah.
hi, and then like, awkward silence.
Yeah. So there's that icebreaker,
Mhm.
and I think the dynamic when meeting new people, especially yourself, I think works the same when you try to, I think, group people together.
Yeah.
Now you're gonna have to have some icebreaker, some way for people to start interacting with one another without being so awkward, right? Because it's even more awkward when you join a group, right? Because you're not just interacting with a person. Now you're interacting with many people, right? Especially if you're new to that play group, it gets kind of awkward. And then maybe the play group have a certain personality, or maybe just a different personality, and you come in. Will your personality fit with that group or not? There seems to be this spectrum, right? This spectrum of the different, I would say, the different games that people like. Now the spectrum I'm talking about is, I say on one end, you have a very heavy strategy games.
Yeah.
These games could take a very long time to play.
Yeah.
Okay. There are some games which last 12 hours, 8 to 12 hours, and these are for people who are hardcore, ready to dive in, ready to I mean, it's strategizing is fun for them.
Yeah.
Right, and figure a way to solve problems or figure a way to win.
Yeah.
Right, one of those things. And then I think the other spectrum is the random, like the RNG type games, right? Just random things that equate into a more, I would say, a lighter type games.
Yeah.
Right, because you're not as serious, I would say, trying to figure your way solving problems or not. There's a lot more random mechanic involved in the game, so that you don't have to I would say be very serious about the game, but you open up a more opportunity in terms of like conversations, conversations and group dynamics. And I think so. It depends on where you are in that spectrum, and where these games are in the spectrum, how you introduce it to people. Usually what I do is that I start introducing people to a more random type game first.
Yeah.
Right, because it allows them to interact with new people, It allowed them to while they don't have to pay so much attention to. Oh my God, this game is there's so much rules in the game.
Yeah.
Like I'm not sure what am I going to do because if I make a wrong move, I mean since I don't know the game, I might not make the right move and I could lose. Right? Usually, strategy game when you approach strategy game, you know that your first few games it's a learning games, meaning that you're going to lose.
Yeah.
Right, most of the time. I mean, I've won a few games I've won on the first play, but that's to me that's rare, right? In the beginning of the game, if it's very strategy heavy, you would spend first few games learning the game, getting used to it, getting used to mechanics. Then we'll think about I'll think about winning later.
Of course.
But then when it comes to random type games, what you have is that okay, I don't have to pay so much attention to the game, right? It's just I mean you roll dice, you flip coins, you move the pieces, whatever. You answer random questions, or there's some games that you just do random conversations, right? Some meta conversation, and these games allow you to, like I said, opportunity to talk to other people in a group, opportunity to get to know them a little better. Yeah. So now, Mike, how about what type of games do you like to introduce to players?
Okay, well, depending, if it's something with strategy, maybe something like a smaller one that's a bit quicker than nothing that lasts hours because it's to help introduce the game and help build the mind. I would start out with something very basic like checkers or chess.
Okay.
Definitely do
that is very
basic, very
basic. Yeah.
Yeah, but you talk about board game wise, a bit more more creative. I would say maybe Left 4 Dead. Maybe that would take could be 40 minutes to a few hours, right?
Okay.
Depending on the scenario you pick.
And how many people can you play in that game?
A lot actually. You can play 4 to 4 to 8, 4 to 12.
4 to 8, 4 to 12. Yeah. Especially party type games. Party type games it's very good if you want to include a lot of players.
Oh yeah.
Now some of the more famous one are Card Against Humanity.
Card Against Humanity.
Apples, right?
The party games I would recommend, if you go to a console kind of theme, I'm sure all you might know about Mario Party. That's a very fun game to play. Very family oriented and casual, or you like to jump on each other's feet. That's fun too. So.
I would also include stuff like Resistance, Werewolves. These are games that takes a lot of players. You can include 10, 12 players.
True.
Easy. Right?
You pick something like Candyland, it's 4 people.
Yeah. So it depends on your playgroup size.
Games like Pictionary, for example, you can have big group.
Yeah, you can divide in teams. There are games that you can divide in teams.
And what else you call that? There's also Cranium. That's quite fun too.
Some of these things that you can divide you into different groups. You can offer dynamic that way.
Yeah, so it's good. Some category good with songs or something with general knowledge or even some history about what president did what, is that true or false facts. Yeah. It's a fun game.
That's a fun game. I think anything that allow you to have more conversation with your group. I think those are the game very good to introduce. Now, when it comes to these type of conversation games, now some people would prefer a game where. So I find this strange where in one of my play group, the game that people like to pick, they're all strategy games. Meaning that they don't like to pick any games that require any sort of words or conversation. They would never pick games like Taboo or they never pick games like
you mean Pictionary? I won't think they
like
pick it.
Pictionary or anything that require you to be creative when it comes to driving the game conversation. Right? I'm talking about Gloom, for instance. There's some storytelling involved, which player has to tell a certain story. Now, the game is very simple. The mechanic is super simple, but the fun in it has to do with players driving story, right? This story-driven game, which you have to create on the fly. Now, some people doesn't like it at all. And I also play with a group of players who loves that, right? But they tend to have a different personality. I would say, like gauge your group personality. Sometime you'll have to have a few different groups if you want to play certain games. I want to continue with this conversation driven type of games.
Okay.
Now the type of game is well known in the nerd or the geek community. The RPGs.
Okay.
The tabletop RPG.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Okay, so you have now tabletop RPG. Bear in mind there is a lot of rules.
Yeah.
Right. The book. I mean, there are series and series and series of them. There's rules on character creation. There's rule on how the story is driven.
Yeah.
At the same time, the story is driven by a storyteller, and you can also act out your character. Whatever character you want to be, you can act that out in the confine of the roles that they have, right? So, I would say that this game is probably a little harder to find people for, but they're really fun.
I mean, I haven't tried one yet, but I think it'll be quite fun.
It's super fun because if you like dungeon crawl, I mean, I love dungeon crawl.
Oh, me too.
we have plenty of board games that dungeon crawl, right? So one is the difference between like moving pieces on board and actually just having a GM drives the story, right? The game master drives the story, and you take the party with your group of folks, and then you can act out your role if you want to.
True.
Some people said, hey, you know what, doesn't matter. So it depends on that dynamic. But I think the game offer a lot, some really intimate conversation, right? Because you're acting out your role, and it's really hard to find people to play with. So I think when you approach that group setting, that group becomes a very close knit group, right? Yeah. Series doesn't have to be like we mentioned earlier, like RPG games. It can be cooperative. It does not have to be strategy, right? It does not have to have a winner, right? It should be a co-op games. Now, so I guess the takeaway from this is that play what you're comfortable with.
Of course.
Right? If I mean, sometimes you want to include people into your group, but I would say still do it in the confine of fun, right? Because if you're bending over backward, so for instance, if you don't like to have any stakes in the game, right? I mean, don't bring a poker player into your group, right? Because you're gonna be like, hey, let's put some money up. Right? And they're like, well, I mean, these are easy game. How to make it more serious? I'm like, well, put $1,000 on a coin flip. Coin flip becomes very serious, right?
Know, right?
I mean, you do $1,000 per flip. Let's see, right? 50-50, right?
I'll be pro.
I mean, if people want to do that, I mean, I mean, if you're comfortable with doing that. Find people that are comfortable doing that, right?
Yeah.
Some people say, I just wanna have fun, co-op, talk about, some of the strategy that we can do to beat the boss, to beat the game. There's a different type of games that offer fun for everyone.
Yeah, for sure.
I would say that gauge who you're playing with, and there's different type of gamers these days and age.
I know.
Yeah.
And so many type of games suited for the group of people, different group of people.
Yeah. What's the most interesting encounter you have when it comes to playing games or seeing different type of people?
Well, one game I recently played is like a Resistance, a type of game where you kind of have to bluff and lie. You can see like the true colors of some people. You can tell that people who lie often play really well with that kind of game. People who doesn't lie, it's very obvious that they're lying because they never lied before in their life.
Yeah. So, disclaimer: if you're going to pick Resistance for your group, I would say give the group some disclaimer because. Maybe some couple or some friends find that scary
Of
that
course.
their friend or their significant other
Mhm.
can lie and you can't tell that they're lying,
Yeah, I know.
right? And that's the basis of resistance.
Mhm.
Okay, so if you have people that are very sensitive to that, I would
It's
say
difficult.
stay away from this kind of games because you are going to create fights, you are going to break relationships, right? Because there are games out there that does that. You
Yeah,
know,
for sure.
number one is Monopoly, right?
Oh, yeah.
People hate each other for years because of not Monopoly. You know, because once you start, I would say it's power trip,
Mhm.
and that's one thing that's pretty bad. It's one of the insecurity that people have, which is kind of hard to deal with. It's that power tripping,
Mhm.
right? Because when you're in a position of power, even in games, like what are you doing, right? Some people are obnoxious, right? They're talking trash. They do this and they do a lot of obnoxious things, but then when they're in a weaker position, they'll just start complaining and all these things. So
And whining.
so it makes people hate each other.
I know.
You know what I mean? So
It's hilarious when
Yeah.
there are people out there like that.
yeah, and the funny thing is, I've come across that
So
sort of
people-
encounter too, where all of a sudden, like husband and wife, boyfriend girlfriend started fighting just because of that.
True.
And you're like, well, I can't believe you lied to me. It's like, it's just a game. It's a game. But it was like, yeah, even though it's a game, but you lied to me. It's like, wow, if you have people that are that sensitive, right?
Don't include it.
Don't introduce that, right? Because you have to understand that some game will expose your insecurity, right? And also they will expose the insecurity between you and your relationship, right? Because if you have a couple who have rocky relationship, a lot of times these kind of things kind of rock their foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very make it very tough to play.
True.
What are my interesting encounter?
Yeah, what is yours? I'm curious about that.
I don't know whether or not it's the most interesting encounter, but it was one that surprised me.
Okay, which one would that be?
So I recently went into a play group with a very religious folks.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Very Christian, very Christian. They're all very Christian, and they're all pretty strict. And this is a Christian group that I went into, like their Bible studies.
Wow,
folks.
you reminded me about one of my own experience about that, but I'll let
Okay.
you finish yours first.
So this group, they actually go to Bible study together. They go to church together.
Yeah.
They have a pretty interesting group dynamic. For me, I approached the group a little conservatively.
Yeah.
Like I didn't like come full blown, everything. But to my surprise was that they actually play games which I didn't think they were going to play.
Okay.
A good example was Gloom, because Gloom is a very dark. It could be very dark, but it can also be very dark humor game. And I didn't think that these. I'm stereotyping.
Yeah.
But I didn't think that people who are more serious about Christianity would play these type of games. So I have this this stereotype, right? And I think some people have them too, and I have them. To my surprise knowledge, they were very very fun to play with.
Nice.
They're very creative. They're very fun to play with, and what's even surprising is that even the group themselves were surprised that some of their group member were showing a side of their personality which never shown before. Because when they go to church or when they go to class, you're not as outgoing, or maybe you're not
be
as,
like that professional figure.
Yeah, you're trying to be a little more professional, a little more manner, So, but the thing is, when it comes to gaming, a really intimate gaming session, you start seeing that the different personality or the side of some of these folks who have never shown before.
I guess just flip the switch,
Yeah, it's like flip the switch, and they're like
involved.
Yeah, and I think it strengthened the bond right of that group, because they're like, oh wow, we've never seen this side of him, but he's really cool. That's really cool. We love him. And some of them would showcase like how You know, like I remember there's a girl who's a lawyer.
Mhm.
She's really good at like selling something. You know? So we were playing this game where you had to sell.
Oh, nice.
Sell some random things, but she was just killing them.
Sweet. That sounds fun.
Yeah, that's what she does for a living, So
Yes.
yeah, for me, I would say, um, it never stopped to surprise me.
Mm.
Any sort of group because and I think the bad thing on my part is that I have established a stereotype.
It's okay. Now we proved you wrong a bit.
I think anything can prove me wrong, right? Because if you have a certain stereotype, another stereotype is like girl gamers.
Mm.
You can say that a lot of girls that I approach when it comes to game, the reason why they don't like games, number one is because they feel like it stereotype a child, right? So one reason is that I hear this a lot, right? With couples and stuff like girls. Right now, girls doesn't want to play game because they believe in their mind that kids play games.
Mm-hmm.
Adult should be serious,
Mm-hmm.
should do adult things, and games isn't one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's one thing that a lot of girls say that. Okay. Another thing is even if they play games, they don't like this heavy strategy games.
Oh, for sure.
Right? They're like, I could never win. Play something which we're kind of even, right?
Like maybe King of Tokyo, for example. There's some luck in there, So
Yeah, because they feel like they feel like they're inferior,
mm-hmm.
right? When they're playing strategy games and you're strategizing all these moves and then you're totally dominating them.
That's not fun.
No, it's not fun for anyone.
Yeah.
But you have to gauge personality still, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a stereotype of a girl gamer.
Yeah.
Now there are girls out there that are fantastic,
of course,
in strategy games. I've seen them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then girls, and then you have all these girls that I just described. Now I tried, and a few people will succeed, and they see that these games are really fun to play with groups. They're not childish, right? But I also have people that just stuck to that. They just believe that I don't like playing games.
Mm-hmm.
I like maybe she liked to do other things, which is fine. Can't win them all.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how about you, Mike? What kind of stereotype, or was there anything ever surprised you?
I don't think I have that many. Oh well, just like you, I go to school and then I went on this retreat, my high school retreat. Yeah, and then my accounting teacher, he just let loose. We play all this drinking game. Like in school you see, teachers supposed to be your idol. And when it's funny when they just turn on the switch and to play drinking games, truth and dare, and then playing Mario Kart too. It's like okay,
yeah.
And also, but the school is strict because it was like a Christian school as well.
Yeah.
So when I played like Magic the Gathering, they said, "Oh, that's like the demons game. You look at like that demon on the card. They what we call it, confiscate all the cards away."
Yeah.
I lost one of my deck because.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, growing up, the school that I was with was also strict about games. Like they don't allow kids to play any games whatsoever.
Oh, wow.
I think the parents had it's an old way of thinking that games is fun. Therefore, school shouldn't be fun, right? You should study so that you can be successful, right? And being successful is study, learn, be serious, right? Don't play.
Yeah, same thing with sports. Like sports supposed to be fun too, but they want you can't win. Then what's the point of playing sport? It's like it's like what?
and some parents would ask the child instead of "Hey, did you have fun?" It's "Hey, did you win?" So it sets your child into different mindset, right? Same thing in the game, right? So if you approach a game and says, "Oh, I only enjoy it if I win," that's a whole different approach than somebody else. Yeah, and it gets to this sort of idea of who's right, who's wrong, and all of that. And I would say, right now, there's not a right answer.
Yeah.
Right. I would say choose what fits you. Right. Like if you find that being serious all the time, right, it isn't something for you. For me, I kind of laugh because that's me, right? I can't be serious all the time, and some people are like that.
Yeah, of course.
I work with people like that, right? That are like I don't think they know how to have fun. Like all they do is work, right? Because like workaholics and people who when we talk about like fun things, they don't have anything to say because all they do they find fun in being serious at work and all that, which that's them.
Yeah,
right, that's fine. But if you want to have a little bit of fun for me, I was like, play some games, meet some people, interact with other people. Yeah,
it's always fun that way, meeting new people.
Yeah, meeting new people, interact, having fun.
Building new relationships is nice.
Yeah, creating new relationships, not breaking them.
Of course.
I got games if you want to break them.
Just PM us down there.
Yeah. Leave us a message. We'll give you a list. If you really want somebody to hate you, very easy.
And we can even give you some strategy tips as well on how to do that.
For me, the funny thing was, I find this weird, but we play a lot of CCGs.
Yeah.
Right. Sure. If you look at most of our videos on the channel, has to do with CCGs. Now, I find it a tradition for CCG, right, to introducing players to CCG.
Yeah.
For me, when I introduce a player to CCG, I would first play the starter deck with them. Right. They'll play. I'll give them a starter deck, and I'll play a starter deck. Okay. Once they get a handle on the mechanics of the game, I put away my starter deck, and I give them my tournament deck. Okay. And so it's usually a total beatdown, right? I want to show them now that you learn the game. This is what it's like when it comes to being competitive.
The same story.
Right? So I do that, and a lot of people believe that when you do that, it motivates that player to go get better cards. Right, because they'll just keep playing the starter forever. If they feel like, every time they play, you're just gonna play starter. Right? They're like, okay, I'll just keep playing. I'm like, no. This is what if you want to play CCG, there's some investment involved. And what I usually do is this is what you call a beatdown, right? You do a beatdown so that they feel like, okay, all right. And I believe that in CCG, once you get into like the meat of the card, like the better cards, but you have to spend some money for it. But once you get these cards are more powerful, but they offer more strategy, a lot more in depth into the game. Right, starter deck just get you to starter. Yeah. So the result of that, what happened? I've introduced a few players to the game, and I've also made some players hate the game. Because if they're really competitive and they hate losing, sometimes you can turn them off like that. Just like here's total beatdown. And if they don't feel like they want to invest into the game to get better, or invest into the game to stay with the game, then they're on the way out. Sure. If they're already playing starter like haphazardly, right? They're not really care about it. They're like, all right, well, right, here's a beatdown. See ya. Yeah,
it's true. It's the same thing. I started my hot girlfriend with a card game too. Was that World of Warcraft? Yeah, started it first, tried it. Shows you learn how to play the game. Later, I give her my tournament deck as well. Yeah, after she saw how badass it was, that was her type. Not the control type. It's the rush decks. The rush decks. Yeah, and then she felt happy when she win like total domination against me. I'm like, damn. Oh my god. And see that's my deck. Can't play with it. I'm like, what? Those are my cards. That's me. That's me. She's like, give me better rush decks. Rush deck. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, like that. It's fun. I think rush decks are easier to play. Yeah, when I try to introduce to Pokemon, also the Card game?
Yeah.
Nah, that's not it. It's too cute and too slow. That's not my type. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
You learn new things
Learn
about
new
your partner.
things. There you go. That's always good. For my wife, and I think she likes some more
Like,
some random games.
like
Not
more
random
casual,
games, but like more casual, like
like
random.
Uno?
Like Uno,
Yeah.
of course. Love letters.
Good players.
Love letters very good
Mhm.
to introduce to people.
Yeah, good icebreaker.
Explonkins. Explonkins. Smash Up
Smash Up
is not too bad for people who like card games.
True.
And they want a little lighter games.
Mhm.
They don't, if they don't want to have to build their decks and stuff anything.
Mhm.
Smash Up's a good game to introduce them to card games.
True.
Now, other type of board games, I would say
So
the number one of all time,
Okay, which one would that be?
Pandemic.
Pandemic?
Number one of all time, Pandemic. Co-op.
Co-op?
Yeah, really, really fun. You really have to work together because the game will beat you, right? I mean, it's not like, oh, this is a friendly co-op game and you're going to always win and happy, people are happy, and it's like, no, not at all. You can lose in Pandemic. You can lose bad in Pandemic.
Okay.
Yeah. So it takes some serious cooperative, but you can also set how difficult you want the game to be, and there are some ways to do it. And we'll definitely include the description of these games below.
For sure.
Please like us or subscribe, and leave comments below. Let us know what type of games you like to play.
Yeah.
What type of games you don't like to play. Have you have any issue introducing players? What are kind of interesting things you have encountered?
Yeah, or want to let us research or look into some games that you might be interested for a review.
Yeah, if you want us to give you some tips of certain games or review certain game, let us know. All right, well, that's it this week, and we'll see you next time.
Yep. See
Bye.
ya.